My name's Adelle Onyango, and welcome to another episode of Legally Clueless. No, seriously, I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. Hey you, welcome to episode 310 of Legally Clueless. Thank you for being on this incredible journey across the years with me. And I truly appreciate you being part of this family. And if you're just discovering this podcast, welcome to the family. There is so much for you to enjoy outside of the 310 episodes. We have another show called The Midweek Tease that goes out every Wednesday. We have Ask a Therapist that goes out every Friday. And we have a weekly newsletter that goes out every Wednesday. You can sign up for it on our website. A link to that is in the show notes, or just go to legallycluelessafrica.com. We have awesome events put together to ensure you get to meet your most desired version of you. So we have wellness talks, different experts coming through. In fact, our 2025 wellness talks begin at the end of March. And we have group therapy that is resuming on the 1st of March. I'll tell you more about it in a bit, but welcome to the family. What's coming up in this episode? Listen to this.
There are times when the main chick would come and I would be locked inside the bathroom. And it's not even funny because he was very quick in wanting to chase her out of the house. Like, oh, let's go out. And then, when he's about to lock the door, he's like, oh, I forgot something. Comes back, opens the door, makes sure not to lock the padlock, leaves me inside and leaves so that I would leave immediately after. I look back at that moment and I feel like I had never felt so worthless in my entire life.
Now, that is part 2 of Diana Rosa's story. If you've not listened to part 1, head over to episode 309 so that you're not completely confused in this episode. But before we get to it, there is an incredible new conversation for you to watch on our YouTube channel. I'm really proud of how active our YouTube channel has gotten. So if you have not subscribed yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. Please do so. A link to it is in the show notes. And this new convo has everything to do with sex. And I want to know, because Legally Clueless, we really are serving the African community. What do we get wrong, in your opinion, when it comes to reproductive health, when it comes to sex education?
Many things. You know what I think we get wrong about teaching Africans about sex and everything that surrounds it? It's that we don't do it the African way. Do you know what I mean? Ancestrally, people were being taught this stuff from a very young age. Also because guys were getting married much earlier, so they knew things much earlier. But we had words for everything. We had customs and systems around everything. Some were harmful, some were not. Many were not, right? We had aunties and uncles who taught you how to whatever. We had aunties and uncles who taught you how to dance to seduce the dude. Do you know what I mean? Even among the Luo, because we have polygamy and polyamory, we had houses where there was a back door for the clan to leave when your husband was coming home. Do you know what I mean? So I think what we do wrong is we've adopted modern is the wrong word, just colonization, because I don't agree that it's modern, because we were the cradle of civilization, so we are the most modern. We've forgotten that we already knew how to do these things. We already had words, we were already teaching our kids, which is what I think we need to do.
Now, I sat down with poet, scriptwriter. For those of you who know the Kenyan show Pepeta, she wrote the script. And she's also a journalist. Her name is Abigail. I also sat down with one of my favorite Kenyan comedians. His name is Tai. And together we had a raw conversation on sex, sexuality, self-esteem, and loving our bodies. We have all short films that touch on these themes. So make sure you go and watch the conversation. I would love to hear your opinions on the topics that we touched on. Ooh, another thing, half the slots for our group therapy sessions are filled. What? If you have booked your slot, I just want to say congratulations, because it takes a lot of courage to say, hey, I want to meet a more healed version of myself, so I'm going to go to therapy. It takes a lot of courage. Even when I come on here and tell you guys how I credit a lot of my healing, a lot of how peaceful my life is now to therapy. I really thank myself for having the courage to say, Adele, we're going to need help. And there was a point in my life I had 2 therapists because it was a hectic time. But it takes a lot of courage. And so first I want to say congratulations. And I am so proud of you. And I can't wait to walk this journey with you. And if you haven't booked your slot, but you know you need this, I truly hope you find the courage to do so. In case you're just hearing about our group therapy, this year we have switched things up a bit. We started group therapy in 2023, and in 2023 to 2024, 200 members of this legally clueless family have been to group therapy. And this year, we wanted to make it more impactful. So we teamed up with Shamiri Health, an organization that's making resources like therapy more accessible and more affordable for you and I. What we did is we said, look, we want to ensure that we get the maximum impact to you when you come for group therapy. And so the number one most asked for topic to be unpacked is, how do I arrive better in my intimate relationships? And so we split up this group therapy into 3 different sessions to allow us to really go deep. And some of the things we're going to talk about are attachment styles. Where the heck did we get our current attachment styles from? And how can we move them to a more secure attachment style? We're going to talk about red flags, building healthy boundaries in intimate relationships. What trauma did your past relationships gift you? And how can we not bring them in to our current relationships? How do we ensure our values are aligned with the people we get into relationships with? And so much more. And so, as I said, it's 3 sessions. The first one is on the 1st of March, second is on the 5th of April, and the third session is on the 3rd of May. So when you book your slot, you're booking your slot for all 3. You are committing to all 3. And what I like about this is you book your slot is like one way of making sure you're not going to fall off. You're going to commit. You're going to come for all 3, right? And they are in person, not virtual. It's going to be at the Shamiri campus. And in total, all 3 sessions will cost 3,000 bob. They are going to be guided by clinical and counselling therapists who understand our cultural context. So I really hope you consider taking this journey in case you haven't booked your slot yet. And I'm excited to walk this journey with you and to meet you and to grow a community around healing, right? And if you're wondering how you can book your slot, my goodness, I almost forgot to tell you, there's a link to that in the show notes. So in this episode, we dive into part 2 of Diana Rose's story. We left off after her having had an ectopic pregnancy, and her partner then turns out he had an entirely parallel relationship. Yeah. And this second part, I have to give you a trigger warning because themes around suicide do come up, and that could be quite triggering to some people. But before we jump into our story, let's take a quick ad break. 100 African stories on Legally Clueless. Stories from Africa.
And the person that got me pregnant when I was in the hospital, because I was in the hospital for 7 days before my discharge, the person that got me pregnant, when I texted them that I had been pregnant and then I had an ectopic pregnancy, that was the time they felt they wanted to break up with me via text. Do you think that was the lowest low? No, that wasn't even the lowest low. Let me tell you how my my need for affection got me to the lowest of my lows in that relationship. This same relationship here, where someone has broken up with me when I am undergoing this pain. You can imagine having, because you had an ectopic pregnancy, and it's not even like there was a child or anything that you can say it's yes. And I have this car, and various others' relationships after that have been asking, and I'm like, I wish I even had a child to like show for this, because I cannot. It's like, you're just a loose girl. But this relationship, my need for, like I said, my need for attachment is very severe. It's like I claw my way into people's lives. Like I want to stay there, I want to be attached to them so much. So it's like an extra hip. So even after he broke up with me via text, I waited until, third year, first semester, because, it's still 2017, around August. And I went back to him, and I literally was on my knees begging him to take me back. I I begged to be taken back. It's like, I can't do this, and I'm going to be here, and it's okay. You're double dealing. It's fine. I'll be the side chick. I was like, I'm going to be the side chick at this point. And indeed I was, and indeed I was treated as one, because there were times when the main chick would come to the house. It was like, can I say a bed sitter? There's like bathroom and toilet inside, and there's like a bed, and the kitchen area. There are times when the main chick would come, and had gone for a sleepover, and I would be locked inside the bathroom. And it's not even funny, but that was it. I would,
Like, wait,
yeah,
locked so that
like
she does not
locked,
know.
yeah, locked inside the bathroom so that she doesn't know that I'm inside.
What if she wants to use the bathroom?
Then that would have been a whole other story. But the number of times that I was there, she had never wanted to, because he was very quick in wanting to like chase her out of the house, like, oh, let's go out. And then, when he's about to lock the door, he's like, oh, I forgot something, comes back, opens the door, makes sure not to like lock the padlock, leaves me inside, and leaves, so that I would leave immediately after. That was where, that was years later. I had never, I look back at that moment, and I feel like I had never felt so worthless in my entire life. And it wasn't even the bathroom alone. There are times I would hide under the bed. I would literally hide under the bed. And all this time I'm still skipping classes. And this is after the surgery, and I'm still doing that. And this is with someone who has already said they don't want you. So you can imagine the level of unworthiness you feel until you go to the person who has taken you to the hospital. It's like, and it's kind of why I understand victims of abuse and why they go back. We don't want to go back. Like there's that thing inside us that you don't want to go back. You know you don't. You're better than this, but it pulls you back in. And so because he was years ahead of me, when he graduated and left me, because he came back to Nairobi and cut off all communication, I had a downwards. I think that was when in third year was when I broke. My mind snapped, and I had no sense of reality. I had no sense of time. I had no sense of where I was, because I was still healing. You see, those things that I was doing in and out would take me back in and out of the hospital from time, because I wasn't fully healed. And I was told not to engage, and I kept on engaging, which would take me back to the hospital, because there are times there was even a time, I think, it was so bad. The internal wound, I think, started leaking again. I had to go back to the hospital, because I think there was a sex position I put myself in that made it that bad. So you can imagine, I was healing the kind of trauma I had. Remember, I was already molested from childhood. That was already in a back burner. Me and my mom, we didn't have the best of relationship. That was already in a back burner. I have been in relationships where I'm constantly left. That's already so you see, you're piling things, not talking about it. You don't have an outlet. You don't have friends. I'm constantly shutting myself in the room, and I broke. And there was a time I was so dissociated. I think, and I wasn't even eating properly, so that made me anemic again, and I would have fainting spells. And there's a time I think I fainted, and I was rushed to the hospital, and my parents couldn't even locate me for a whole week. It got to a point where I was almost about to be declared missing person. My third year now. It was that bad. I think after that incident, when I came back to my hostel, that was when I decided this is it for me. I'm done. God, I know you saved me last year, but if this is what you saved me to, then I think it's better I come back home. So I started contemplating suicide ideations. I had ideas. It's like, I can't cut my wrist. I mean, I don't want that kind of pain. I already went through the pain of it. I was like, this was me. This was me writing a plan. I was telling myself, these are the plans. I mean, I can't jump from a building. What if I don't die? And then I end up breaking bones and now I'm stuck in that seat. I'm like, I cannot live like that. The conversations people have when they're trying to do these things. I've even written out a message. So I'm like, this is how I want my eulogy to be. I had written it out, literally. And I still have that diary till today where I see it. And that's why, like, there are certain situations in life you just have to remind yourself that you know what, you're stronger than some certain situations, you know. So I was like, the best way, pills. Went to the chemist, bought myself a bunch of pills. It was like, I had like a bunch of ailments. I'm just listing ailments. I'm like, I want painkillers. I want, for malaria. I want, I'm just flus. I just wanted a whole set of pills because they'll do different things. So I was like, that is the fastest way to go. I thought it out. It was a well thought out suicide plan that was followed through. I bought the pills. I took them. Didn't close my door properly because I was like, if my friends want, because you know how campers we are. When you're going to your friends, you just like insert your hand and lock. You're not going to. You're going to knock once, and if you check for the padlock, if it's not there, so you're just going to, and you're going to go in. So that's what I did. I was like, I bought pills. Wrote out my eulogy, wrote out my suicide message, I apologized to my dad profusely because I was like, he's the only one who's actually going to care as much. So it's not going to matter. Like, at least I've written him. I wrote to my sisters. I was like, I tried to be the best I could be, but it's like, I'm not going to be able to be. And I said, those are the people that really matter to me. The rest, if I died, because I said my mom also thought, at one point I should have. I was like, that is enough for me. Took those pills, slept, woke up. And I woke up fine, which really angered me because I was like, did I not take enough pills? I'm like, wait, I thought I took enough pills. Second round, I was like, I know now I need to add more. Went to my friends' houses, those who had, people usually have, stock, painkillers, whatnot, leftovers that they had, went and was like, I'm having this and this and this, and I don't have the money to go and buy right now. Let me just use this painkiller. And then, I took them, piled them together. I was like, I ate last time. I think it's because I ate, so that food digested with the pills. And so, I'm not going to eat. I'm not going to eat this time. I'm just going to take it like that and I'm going to sleep. At around 12, I woke up with this really bad stomachache, really bad. And at that point, I realized this was going to be a very painful death. Because it was really bad. It was the same excruciating pain that I had when I was, I collapsed when I had my ectopic pregnancy. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. I already went through this pain. I can't do this anymore. So I went to my washroom and, used my fingers and I puked everything out. And by God, I think they hadn't settled because I could just see them like whole as they were. And I was like, I can't kill myself like that. But that didn't stop the depression from setting in regardless. Because the whole of the year now, at least second year, I would go to some classes. I attended some CATs. I attended some lectures. The whole of the year, I didn't. I was just, my parents were paying school fees for someone who's just indoors, sleeping, waking up, going to the washroom, coming back, sleeping, going to the washroom, coming back, sleeping. I'd send my friends for food, but that was just it. And my thoughts would get darker and my body became frail. And it was that moment that God sent me someone.
I hope you're enjoying this episode, and I'm so glad that you're part of this family. We're taking a small ad break, but we'll be right back. And now, back to the episode.
A very good friend by the name Bruce, my best friend. We're currently best friends for 7 years now. Bruce, we had met, we were acquaintances, but we weren't like really close. But that period, when I wasn't going out, I wasn't interacting, I wasn't socializing, I wasn't like, you wouldn't even tell if I was in school or not. That was the time he came to visit me, and he never left. Every single day, he would wake me up, ensure I showered, ensured I ate, didn't force me to go to class, but ensured I was alive. Fourth year is rolling in. I went back home. My parents are like, teenagers, growing pains. She's distant, growing pains. She's calm. She doesn't want to get out of her room, growing pains. It's not, there's a problem. This girl is usually bubbly. There's a problem. No, it's just growing pains. She's growing. She wants her space. It's never, yeah, what's going on? Went back to school for TM, and I was like, I am here already. I might as well just go to class. The body was there, but I wasn't there. There are people who can remember me from that time period, and I don't remember them. Yeah, it was that bad. Like, my mind was that bad. There are incidences and situations that people can remind me that I did, and I don't remember. I'm like, I don't recall. I did that. No, I'm like, I don't recall. There, in fact, and this is going to be very key for like moving forward. It was so bad, I didn't even remember lecturers that taught me certain subjects. And this is key because let's put a pin on it. You'll understand why this was key, why I couldn't remember some lecturers who taught me. Okay, we shall revisit this one, but let's just put it at the back of my minds that I couldn't even remember lecturers. So now 2019 December is rolling in, and people are expecting what? Me to graduate. I'm not graduating. I'm not on the list. I'm not, my mom, the strict parent, wants to know. My dad knew. I had already told my dad I wasn't going to graduate. So he had already had his moment, his breakdown, his anger moments. He had already gone through the motion. So now he was okay. Now my mom was like, we didn't tell her. The day she found out I wasn't going to graduate, she got angry. She literally hurled a glass plate at me. It missed my head by like a whisker. My dad was standing in between, and that was like what nearly blocked it, because it was like his body, and then it was like shoot in a bit, and then it missed my head by a bit. She was like, you're not going to stay here if you're not graduating. I'm not doing this. I've done my part of, So it was like that whole scene. You can imagine the whole scenario of not graduating and telling your parents you're not graduating. So it was like that for the December, and then 2020 rolls in COVID. So you're not in school in 2020, right? So that's 1 year already gone. When you could have graduated, you could have been doing other things, but that 2020 gone. 2021, still in my mother's house, right? Still haven't graduated. Still supposed to be looking for quote unquote missing marks. Because that was the reason I gave people that I had missing marks. By 2021 March, my mom was frustrated with everything I was doing in that house. Even breathing seemed to anger my mom. Me trying to avoid her made it worse. Like, just trying to be in a different space, like being in the bedroom so that, we don't clash, was like making it worse, because it was like, she's is just here. She's not doing anything. She's just here. Why isn't anyone seeing that this girl is just here? But you see, COVID was a very stressful time for everyone, with mental health and everything. And remember, I've still been suffering from all these ones, and I've not had anyone to talk to. I haven't opened up to anyone. I haven't really, talked about it, talked about my experiences. They are still all bottled up. They are piling and piling and piling, and my mother's relationship is also making it worse, and it's piling and it's piling. And one time, I packed my bags and I left home. In 2021, I went to a friend's place, blocked off everyone that I knew. Every day, wake up in the morning. My friend was, I thank her. She hosted me, and she didn't really ask for much. She was just like, just live. Because with whatever you've been going through, just make sure you live. Let it not be said you left home to come and die here. Just live. And I lived and I lived and I lived, and I would find out jobs, and I did until I got enough money, saved my own money, moved to my own house by the end of 2021 December. Was there in my house in January, February. Remember, I haven't graduated. I haven't talked to anyone. I'm still in my house. Same pattern, same routine. I just wanted to wake up, eat, and the day is done. If I can do that, the day is done. There are days I would be in bed the whole week, but as long as I could wake up from the bed, go and eat, come back, the day is done. I'm like, I count myself blessed because I'm like, that day is done for me. By March of 2022, my mother had, because I love my siblings, I told them where they could find me. And so my mom found out where I was staying because of I let my siblings know where they could find me, so my mother knew where to find me. And so my mother sent my uncle, my maternal uncle, together with the chief, and they're like, that girl better come back home so that she can tell me what she wants to do. It's either she graduates or she returns my fee. One of the two. It's either or, nothing short of that. And so I was like, I don't have 100 and something people. In fact, 200 plus 1,000 to return as fee. So let us graduate. So I went back to school. When I went back to school, my uncle was shocked. I had 24 missing units and I think 18 receipts. I was told in order for me to graduate, and you see, with universities, if by the 8th year mark you haven't graduated, you're discontinued. So that was like my 6th, 7th year. Because she didn't want me to stay in the house, so I had to stay with my grandmother. I actually went to my after my uncle took me back to school so that we could see the number of units that I had, so that you could restructure myself and see how I was going to, a game plan for how I was going to finish all of them and then graduate. I had to go back to my grandmother's because my mom was still angry with me. She was still frustrated, and I get it. I was also frustrated with her. I was like, you have also not been opening up. You have not been opening up. We are at impasse at this point. So both of us, we can coexist peacefully at this point, knowing that you want me to do this, and I've agreed I'm going to do this. Okay, because anyway, in hindsight, it's also for my benefit. So I was at my grandmother's place. We drafted a game plan, went back to school. I went back to school. I was like, so what do I need to do? Remember I told you Maseno has 2 campuses, main campus in Luanda and Kisumu campus. Kisumu campus also offers education. Trust me, I was going to both universities at the same time, all those semesters. There was a time Kisumu City Campus had maybe a second semester session, and there's a time maybe main campus has a first semester session, and I'm doing both. And I am doing both at the same time. I would follow up with lecturers because there's some that were missing that indeed I had done. But when you asked who taught you, remember, I don't remember who taught me some of these lectures, genuinely, because that was how my mind was. I couldn't remember. So I had to start from zero. So you see, trying to navigate and make sure that I finish this degree became a hurdle. And that was also one of the hardest things I had to do, going back to school at that particular time, because everything was changing. Units were even changing. In fact, when I joined campus, I was a BED. When I was, coming back to school again in 2022, it was EAR. And I'm like, oh, okay, still education, but people have different tags to it. The units have different titles to it. Still the same unit, but different. You see, that was what I had to readjust myself into. You're in class with people. Remember, education did teaching practice. I'm in class with people I taught during teaching practice. But I wasn't ashamed. I was like, and that is one thing I've loved about Grace. I was like, you know what? I have decided. And that's me. Once I usually decide, I'm like, if this is what I want to do, I will do it. I was like, I went back to school, didn't mind the shame. The lecturers used to bully me. They're like, you are still here. I'm like, yes, I'm still here and I still want my marks. So I'll be coming to class. You will be seeing me in class. I expect my marks, I would engage with them. I'd like, because I'm supposed to have graduated. Please don't disturb me with my marks. Just give me my marks, even if it's a D. Just ensure I graduated, leave this institution. But they were very helpful. Some, the rest, good news. So did that the whole of 2022. Side note, in 2022, while with my grandmother, her providing for me became a hassle when I was in campus. Because my mom was like, I took her to school, she wasted her opportunity, I can't do this. So because my grandmother was struggling to send me money for upkeep, I took a job as a maid. And do you know where I took it? The job is literally a stone throw away from my mom's place. Well, I'm like a prodigal son. I could literally return home, but I wasn't. And my sister still knew where I was. And my sisters, my dad, they all knew where I was. The only person who didn't know was my mom. But I took that job and I would wake up. Remember, 2 institutions, main campus, city campus. There's this job. I'm a nanny. I have to wake up early, take care of this kid. Oh, the lady was also expecting. So you can imagine the pains of, taking care of a expectant person. And this expectant person was also going through her fair share of stress because, the baby was born premature, was a preemie, so she had to stay in hospital. So I had to stay with the son constantly full time. So I had to divide myself in such a way that I made sure I attended the lesson so that the lecturers didn't think I was flaking out again. I had to ensure that I was with this boy to make sure that, he didn't feel the pain of not, because the mother was a nurse and the dad was a surgeon. So this, the dad not being there most of the time and the mom is already in the hospital taking care of a preemie. So it was so hard, but I'm so thankful for that experience because it taught me resilience. I was like, if I can go through all that, is there anything I genuinely can't do? Because I did go through all that and I finished my courses I think my first round of courses by December of 2022. By January, I had 5 units remaining. But here's the beautiful thing. In 2021, after I had left, my mom and my dad got into such a bitter quarrel because they're my mom was always insisting that my dad was coddling me, and my dad was also always insisting that my mom didn't really care for me, not in the way that a mother should for a child. And so because of that back and forth, my dad left home. So 2 people have already left home. So the whole of 2022, I wasn't at home. And my dad wasn't at home. My dad had cut off all communication from her. Yes, he could talk to us, the children, but any form of communication with my mom was non-existent. I knew, yes, in as much as they had their own issues, I knew that partly what contributed was me moving out. And I knew, I told God, by that I've been very intentional during my birthdays. All my birthdays, I usually have an intention. So the 2022 one, I told God, as this year is ending for me, all my life I've grown up having my parents quarrel and bicker over me. And I don't understand where the problem was. I don't understand how bad of a child I could. Because I understand, yes, parents, I understand. They're those children who are easier. There are those children who are easier, and I know I wasn't the easiest. I will not sit here and say I was the easiest child maybe my mom could have had, and I know maybe she wanted an easier child, and I get it. Right now, growing up and having gone through what I've gone through, I understand. So I wasn't the easiest. So on that birthday in 2022, I told myself and I told God, I can't be the reason my parents break up. But if I am going to be the reason my parents break up, then I should be the reason that they should get back together, because we have never. My dad was the type of person who was always there. I don't know a life where my father is not in the house by 6 or 7 unless he traveled up country. By 7, he was always in the house. He was helping us with our homework. He was cooking for us. My dad literally cooks for us, and it's his joy to cook for his family. My mom was there. I've never known a situation where they're not there. So I was like, divorce, I don't understand the concept of divorce here. And if I am one of the reasons as to why you people are fighting, then I will do whatever it is that is needed. Yeah.
I hope you're enjoying this episode, and I'm so glad that you're part of this family. We're taking a small ad break, but we'll be right back. And now, back to the episode.
What I did was I called my sisters, because they were the ones staying with my mom at that time, and I was like, measure the temperature. Do you think she might want me back for the holidays, like the Christmas holidays? I was like, just measure the temperatures, just try and see if she might want me back, if she might want to have a conversation with me, if she might want to see me. And luckily, God is a God of wonder. She was like, yeah, tell her to come home for the holidays. So I quit my job, the maid one, I quit my job, went back home in December during that time. Side note, when I had left home in 2021, I had written my mom a letter. And in this letter, I told my mom everything that had ever happened to me. And I told her, Mom, there was a point in my life that I was molested. There was a point in my life where things just went wrong for me. But I cannot for the life of me recall a point in my life where me and you got it so wrong. I can vividly remember the points in my life where it hurt, but I cannot remember the point in my life where me and you got it wrong, that me and you couldn't have a proper relationship. And by God, I pray that we get back to a point where me and you can have a proper mother and daughter relationship. And I left that letter and I left home. And she never reached out, by the way, never acknowledged it. But you see, during this period when I'm praying and I'm telling God I'm going back home and I'm going to make it right, one of the prayers was this. I was like, God, my mom, I have an African mom. Will never say she's sorry. But if she's open, that was my prayer. I told God, if she's open to us having a conversation and us sitting down and us having a heart to heart, she does it. I told God, she doesn't even have to say sorry. I'll just know from that you heard me, and I'll be okay with that. As long as I get it, parent can be narcissistic, whatever it is. But I was telling God, I don't care about all that. From this point moving forward, if she does this, I'll know it's from you. I know you have ordained this. So when I went back home, in fact, I even delayed going back home because I was like, maybe she's just pretending. But I went. And the morning after Christmas, 26th December 2022, she had woken up earlier than everyone in the house. It was me, her, and my 2 siblings. She had woken up earlier than everyone else. And I could hear her. You can hear the movement of fires, of, utensils here. I was like, why is she up? It's still Christmas. It's still festive. People need to be sleeping. But I woke up. I went and found her. We have a corridor and a balcony at our place. I found her there. She was like dusting, and then she sat down and she saw me. She was like, you've woken up? I'm like, yeah, mommy, I'm up. I don't know how. I cannot tell you how we started the conversation, but the conversation started. And I was like, Mommy, was I that bad? She was like, no, it's just how I was raised. I was raised to be tough. Because my mom is also a firstborn. My mom is a firstborn of a firstborn. Her father was a firstborn. I come from I'm a 4th, 5th generation of a firstborn. And I'm actually a first grandchild. So you see, when growing up, you couldn't see it. You couldn't tell that there are struggles she has from carrying her family as well as carrying our family, So it was like, Dana, that's how I grew up. I grew up tough. We didn't talk, we didn't express our feelings, and we turned out all right, or so I think. And I'm like, Mommy, that is not all right. You're not all right. And I am not all right, because I am a different kind of firstborn. I am the kind of firstborn who feels. I am the kind of firstborn who is expressive. I am the kind of firstborn who wants to talk about her emotions. I mean, I have siblings who don't even want to open up, but I am the first. This is the one you get. I open up. I talk about it. I cry. I hurt, and I want to talk to you about it. I want to talk to you about my boyfriend so that you can tell me before I get into another deeper mess. I want to tell you about them firsthand. I want to call you every single morning and tell you, Mommy, I've woken up. I just wanted to say hi. Mommy, that is the kind of relationship I want us to have. And I know you're a parent, but I want us to try. And she was like, that is all you've ever wanted? I'm like, I want us to try. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm not even saying forget all the things I've ever done. I'm not going to sit here and say I've forgotten all the things that have been said. But from where we are, let's try. And she promised, and she was like, I'm going to try. We are going to try. I'm going to be there. You need me to support you. I'm going to be there. And trust me, that was at a God-appointed time. Because by January, when I was finishing school, now I had to now start calling my dad. I'm like, Daddy, I'm home. My dad is like, I don't think your mom has changed. Because you see, he was also adamant. He was like, I don't want to come back to a space where we are still fighting over you. I don't want to come back to a space where people are hurting over you. I don't want to come back to a space where you constantly come to me, Diana, crying and telling me what everyone is saying about you and me, and as a father-daughter kind of relationship. I cannot go back to that house. And I was like, Daddy, it's okay. Do you know I spent 6 months trying to convince this man to come back? I spent 6 months literally convincing and praying that my dad would come back home. He refused. We even went with my mother one time to bring him back from home, and up country, and he refused. Flat out refused. He was like, I'm not coming back home. I still don't feel like I do. And he told her, I don't think you've changed. I just think it's because you're lonely. Those were his words exactly. I think it's because you're lonely. I think it's because you need us back. And I think it's because, you just want to keep up appearances in church and whatnot, that, your family is still intact. But I don't think you've changed. And I had to convince him. I was like, Daddy, the last 6 months we have been trying. We have been talking. We have been trying, Daddy. And if it's me, if I am the reason, then I am telling you it's okay. And I'm not saying it's going to be 100, but it's okay now. It's where I'm at. It's okay. I'm like, and eventually he came back in August of last year. After I cried, after I went to church, in life, I've come to realize that we are all different entities. Parents don't understand that their children are different entities, and children also don't understand that parents are also different entities. And as children, we lean onto parents, right? And parents, your children lean onto you for everything. For a while, it's going to be everything. It's going to be emotional, it's going to be financial, it's going to be mental, it's going to be health-wise. We are going to lean. We are going to everything that they do, the parents, everything that they do, when they think that we don't notice, we notice. We pick it up. Every word, every encouragement or every abuse is taken in. We are like sponges. So as parents, they have to be very careful with the words you utter onto your child, especially in condemnation. Like, if in terms of, if it's education, don't always call your child stupid. It sticks. It forms part of their image. It forms part of who they are. And before they can shed it, it's going to take a lot of work for them to shed. Children, in as much as they do, and that is also something I've also learned as a child, that my mom, now where I am, my mom came at me at a point of anger and resentment for things I did not do. Now I can say it, but it took me time to see it. So sometimes, as children, we need to give our parents grace and understand that it gets hard for them trying to even feed us, even in this economy, feed us, take care of us, provide for us, ensure we have the best. And so, yes, they will bring out their frustrations on us sometimes, but it doesn't mean at the core of it all that they don't care for us. I saw that with my mom. I'm telling you right now, I can show you my phone log and the number of times I talked to my mom just in a week. You wouldn't believe that I'm coming from a background where we couldn't talk face to face. We couldn't be in the same room. We couldn't have heart-to-heart conversations. And right now, I can call her and I'll be like, well, I saw someone very attractive. And she'll be, oh, okay, tell me more, and it's like girlfriend, and it's like, I can talk to her about spiritual. And I'm like, Mommy, can we do a fasting and praying season for like right now? And she's like, how many days do you want? I'm like, 9 days. And she's like, I got you. We have to give each other grace. Grace to be who we were meant to be. For us to be the best versions we can be for one another. Regardless. Because right now I can say, I'm not the best. But I am where I want to be in terms of my relationship with my mom, my relationship with God, my relationship with my dad, my relationship with my sisters. I might not have the same kind of relationship when it comes to other people because I'm still finding my footing. But the ones that really matter are really good.
Catch more African stories in the next episode of Legally Clueless. This is my favorite type of story. Oh, because it has a happy ending. I feel like every family should listen to Diana Rose's story because we really battle very similar themes. But I want to share some of the things that I connected with in this story. The first is often, especially as women, we try and keep men, straight women that is, we try and keep men who are not only not right for us, but have continuously either treated us wrong or rejected us. We try and keep them by using sex as bait. You know what I mean? And I think sex is incredible. I think sex is powerful. I think sex is spiritual. I think sex is so much fun. And I also think sex should be a wonderful experience for everyone involved, whether it's in a relationship or it's casual, or even if it's a one-night stand. That's just my thought. The other thing I connected with is just listening to Diana Rose talk about the period in her life where she was battling suicidal thoughts and even planning and action in it. If you take just one thing away from this episode, I would want that to be you realizing the importance of you practicing more empathy with people and you extending kindness to others because you just never know what people are struggling with. We are all showing up every day carrying invisible, heavy baggage, fighting invisible, heavy fights. Kindness and empathy can go a long way. The last thing that I connected with is just this understanding that trauma is passed on through generations in families. And it's something I've been thinking about a lot. I think about my grandma and how she raised her kids. I think about my late mom and the ways in which she tried to stop generational trauma. And so for those of you with kids, or maybe you interact with the next generations in your family, be it your nieces, nephews, grandchildren, I want you to ask yourself, how are you ensuring trauma is not passed on across generations? I also want to know what you connected with in Diana Rose's stories. So wherever you're listening to this episode on, drop a comment. I love hearing from you. And last but not least, I want to truly thank you for being part of this family. I appreciate you, and I believe you have everything it takes to heal. That's it for this episode of Legally Clueless. You can share this podcast with your friends. You can keep it for yourself. I'm not judging. Just make sure you're here next week for the next episode.